Night temperatures will be holding up above freezing just about everywhere, but it does mean we are going to continue to see some further rainfall throughout Saturday. Some quite strong winds actually moving in across eastern areas of Scotland, and with the rain continuing to feed in, we could see some disruption here across eastern areas of Aberdeenshire. Further west, we've got some heavy showers across northern England. Northern Ireland seeing a slightly drier day, but western areas of Wales, the south of Wales in particular, parts of Devon and Cornwall will see some quite gusty winds throughout Saturday, and these showers do bring a risk of hail and thunderstorms on Saturday. There will be some dry weather around though actually. Once the main rain clears actually in the north, much of Scotland will see relatively dry weather, and there will be some sunshine here and there across central areas. And as I said, it is on the milder side of things, 10 or 11 degrees. Some areas seeing 12 degrees actually through Saturday afternoon. So not too bad, but definitely a pretty unsettled weekend. A cold start though on Sunday morning, and then the next band of rain bringing another spell of heavy downpours throughout Sunday afternoon across the country, particularly actually this time across northern areas moves in. Now that will clear for some respite on Monday, but the next batch of wet and for some of us very windy weather arrives on Tuesday.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you so much for helping us to reach 8 million followers and subscribers across our social media channels. That's 8 million fearless Brits standing up for what really matters.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. A collision on the M67 eastbound at Junction 3 in Tameside should clear by 10:14 p.m. In Leicestershire, a road incident on the M6 northbound has closed 2 lanes, with traffic expected to normalise between 8 and 8:15 tonight. The M48 remains closed between Junction 2 Newhouse and Junction 1 Ost. In Windsor and Maidenhead, the A404M southbound has 1 lane restricted before Junction 9A due to a collision. And on the trains, Chiltern Railways and cross-country services are disrupted between Stratford-upon-Avon and Dorwich. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's the big one. Your chance to win a whopping £85,000 in tax-free cash. The largest cash prize we've given away to date. That's like over £7,000 a month extra in your bank account each month for 12 whole months. That's a year of yes. Yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to shopping trips, yes to home improvements. For a chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome to Lee Anderson's Real World. Tonight on the show, we have political commentator Chloe Dobbs. She'll be going head-to-head with former Labour MP Bill Rammell. We've got the Political Communications Director of New Century Media, Tony Lodge, and author Esther Stanhope. But first, let's go to the news.
Good evening. The top stories from the GB newsroom. Some breaking news this hour that England play Croatia in next year's World Cup group stage. That game to take place in Toronto or Dallas. The Three Lions lost to Croatia in the semi-final of the 2018 World Cup. And Scotland's first two opponents will be Brazil and Morocco in Group C. The Tartan Army are making their first World Cup appearance since 1998. Meanwhile, earlier, Donald Trump was given FIFA's new Peace Prize at the World Cup draw. World football's governing body said it would be given to individuals who have taken exceptional and extraordinary actions for peace. Mr. Trump has long campaigned for a Nobel Peace Prize for his involvement in resolving global conflicts, including the ceasefire agreed between Israel and Hamas in October. In other news, Number 10 has dismissed David Lammy's suggestions that it could be beneficial for the UK to look at rejoining or forming a new customs union with the EU. The Deputy Prime Minister argued that leaving the European Union badly damaged the UK economy and that rejoining the EU customs union would boost economic growth. His comments echo similar arguments from the Health Secretary Wes Streeting, who said that Labour should undo the economic damage done by Brexit.
Earlier this year, we had the first UK-EU summit ever, and we had 10 strands to a closer relationship. So we've totally reset relations with the EU. That's good for our economy, good for defence and security, good for the work that we need to do on energy. And we've transformed, really, in 17 months in office, to a country that was looking disinterested in being on the world stage to a country that's now respected again, and where other countries are looking to us for influence, for advice, for partnerships. You're seeing that with the EU, but of course elsewhere across the world. So I'm really pleased that we've been able to move things forward.
Reform UK's Zia Youssef has criticised the BBC after the broadcaster invited multiple asylum seekers to sit in on Question Time's immigration special. The debate episode was filmed in Dover on the front line of Britain's migrant crisis. Speaking to GB News after the show, Mr Youssef said he couldn't believe what he was witnessing.
There were two illegal migrants who come originally by small boat. As you can see, the BBC were very open about that. How on earth it can be deemed appropriate that people who broke into this country illegally should have a seat at the table in a political discussion about immigration, about illegal immigration on a BBC immigration special is so bewildering.
Meanwhile, the government has reopened the Campsfield immigration detention facility near Oxford as part of plans to boost spaces to house asylum seekers and foreign offenders while they wait to be deported. It comes as Sir Keir Starmer's government is seeking to tackle the backlog of asylum cases and speed up removals. Campsfield has an additional 160 beds after the first phase of refurbishment, with plans for that to later rise to 400. Those are the latest headlines for now. More from me in an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Welcome to Lee Anderson's Real World. I'm Lee Anderson, the Reform UK Member of Parliament for Ashfield, and tonight on the show, she's back, the very lovely Chloe Dobbs, political commentator and just all-round lovely lady. And unfortunately, Stephen Pound couldn't make it tonight, so we've got Bill Rammell, who is not a poor second, but close, Bill, to Stephen Pound. You're our left in the corner. Thanks for filling in at the last minute. Anyway, guys, Bill, you're going to have to defend last week's Labour budget. Is the British public better off than they were this time last week?
Well, I acknowledge that's not the way people feel, but frankly, they should feel better off.
So you're telling people how they should feel?
No.
This is Starmerism.
Based on the facts. So, wages for the first time in 15 years are rising faster than prices. The government has engineered a £150 cut to energy bills. prescriptions have been frozen, rail fares have been frozen, and very, very welcomely, 450,000 children have been lifted out of poverty. So the substance is there. I acknowledge people don't yet feel it, but I think in time, and frankly with a much better communications effort from the government, they can and will.
It's not that they don't feel it, but I'm trying to remain impartial here, guys, but it's not, in my opinion, not that they don't feel it, it's that they don't believe it, Chloe.
People don't believe it, and most people don't feel it. The few people that, for example, have a minimum wage job that they haven't lost will see their wages going up slightly. For example, if you are someone who has more than 2 children and you then benefit from the 2-child benefit cap being lifted, then you might feel a little bit better. But the vast, vast majority of people are going to be feeling worse off. The reality is, Bill's listed a whole load of pieces of state intervention to try and make people's lives better. But you've got to be growing the economy to over time improve people's lives, and that just isn't really happening. And they're trying to gaslight us and pretend that the economy is going swimmingly well. Rachel Reeves, when she announced the budget, she was boasting about the fact that her growth forecast for this year had been gone up from 1 to 1.5%, completely ignoring the fact that they've been downgraded for the rest of Parliament. And then she's tried to pretend that people's the cost of living is going to get better, because she says, oh, inflation is going to drop down from 3.8% to hopefully 2.5% sometime next year. She said that means prices are going down. That makes the cost of living cheaper. No, it doesn't. 2.5% means prices are still going up by 2.5%.
And one of the things that they've been bleating about again this week in the Commons, Bill, is the freezing of rail prices. Now, look, rail prices are too expensive and they should be a lot cheaper. But in the real world, Bill, which you need to step inside sometimes, you and the Labour lot, is how many people actually get on a train every day? In my patch, not that many.
It's about 10% of the population, I think. But, for them, so from my former constituency, a season ticket to Liverpool Street is over £5,000 a year. So actually, for those people who do travel by rail, having rail fares frozen is very, very welcome. But, I saw a poll this week from More in Common, and all 3 leading parties, Reform, Labour and the Tories, are all under 20% in terms of confidence in their management of the economy. Now, I think that means that politics is very fractured. I think it means people don't trust the economic situation. But frankly, there was a lot of very positive moves in the budget. And I think as we progress, people will start to feel that.
I mean, Bill sat there, Chloe, with a straight face, talking about last week's budget as though it's the best thing since sliced bread.
I mean, it is one of the most horrendous budgets we've ever seen. They have promised us last year, there's no way we're going to have to come back for more after they hiked taxes by 40 billion last year. And then they've come back for another 26 billion this time. And there are certain tokens that they've given out to try and please people, but actually it just hasn't cut across. People, there has been polling done, and people really, really do not feel like they're going to be better off as a consequence of this budget. As I said, there will be a few people, maybe the small proportion of people that take a train every day, who feel a little bit better. The reality is, if the economy is not growing, and you can't tax your way to growth, and sure enough, now we're having reports coming out from the OECD saying that growth is going to be really low in the country as a consequence of the tax rises. No surprises there. You don't need to have that many brain cells to figure out that if you put up taxes, that businesses don't grow as much, jobs don't get created as much, and so on. In the long run, we are just ruining the state of this country.
Yeah, Bill.
Chloe, how with a straight face you can say this is one of the worst budgets in living memory? Do you remember the Liz Truss budget, which crashed the economy? The reality is, and it was included in the OBR figures, that growth is going to be 1.5% during the course of this Parliament. That's not where we want it to be, but it's one of the leading growth figures in the G7. We need to do more, but an awful lot of the measures within the budget will make people feel better off. And given that the cost of living is still most...
Do you think Rachel Reeves is up to the job?
Yeah, yes, I do. I think she was dealt a very difficult hand from the inheritance of the last Tory government, and that is unassailable as a reality. I think she stabilises the finances. One of the things that she did very well in this budget was inject greater headroom, and that's why the markets have reacted favourably to the budget. 20 billion headroom, so that if we do get shocks, you can actually manage.
So last year, Chloe, I think it was last year, Bill might correct me actually, that Starmer took the whip off 7 Labour MPs for rebelling on the two-child benefit cap. Now it's government policy. What the hell is going on?
I know, I mean, I couldn't believe at PMQs this week, Kemi Badenoch was absolutely going for Starmer on this. And his response to every single question was, we're bringing so many children out of poverty. Look how amazing we are. Of course we would want to do that. Why would we not want to do that? And I think, hang on, let's rewind a minute and remember when you did that, you took the whip off your own MPs for doing what now is your policy. And look, people are just sick and tired of the U-turning and the lies. He told us before, this is not something that we can afford to do. We don't want to have to put up taxes more. What have they done? They've put up taxes and they have decided to go ahead with scrapping the two-child benefit cap. And the reality is that is for the backbenchers. They have given in, they are being held to ransom. I feel slightly sorry for Rachel Reeves in that she did make a small attempt to cut 5 billion quid off the welfare bill, but was completely unable to because of these rebellious backbench MPs. That is one of the reasons, not just the two-child benefit cap, but the welfare bill generally, why we've got these tax hikes in the budget is because they simply cannot get through the reforms that are necessary to sort out what is a completely unsustainable...
So, I mean, Chloe's right, isn't she, Bill? I mean, they've increased the benefit bill by, I think, it's £15 billion. And the only reason they've done this, really, is to appease the backbenchers.
Well, let's separate the issues. The 7 Labour MPs who lost the whip, they lost it not for opposing the two-child benefit cap, but for voting for an opposition amendment against the last budget. The reality is this is the right move. It's always been an aspiration for this Labour government to scrap the two-child benefit cap because it's the biggest measure that can lift kids out of poverty.
But I want to push back because this is rubbish. When you keep saying it's going to drag 400,000 kids out of poverty, I've never heard such rubbish in all my life.
Is it rubbish?
It's not, because it depends how you measure poverty in this country as compared to other countries. Let me tell you this, Bill. When I was raising my family back in the day, if I needed extra money for my kids, for their school uniforms, for football kits, for school trips, do you know what I did? I did a weekend shift, or did 2 weekend shifts, or did overtime in a week. I did not ask the government to give me more money, and that's where we're going wrong in this country. Chloe?
Yeah, look, I think that is not the way to lift children out of poverty. I think that we do have an issue with population in this country, and if you want people to have more children, I think that there are other things that you can do that have been done in other countries where you give tax breaks to parents, for example, to make sure that it is parents who are working hard who get any help that they might need. I think there are also other things like parents needing to be better at budgeting, for example.
Exactly right, Chloe. Exactly. Is it fair, Bill? Is it fair? I'll build a question. You can come back now. That you've got one family in this house here, both parents working full time, couple of kids, can't afford to have another one, so they stay at 2 kids. Family next door don't work, got a couple of kids, but if they have another kid, they get £2,000 a year pay rise from the state. Is that fair?
This is about looking after children, and the reality...
It's about buying votes.
Hold on. The reality is that 75...
Is it fair?
Yes. The reality is it's fair to those children, and the reality...
Is it fair to that working family next door?
The reality is 75% of the recipients of the lifting of the two-child benefit cap are actually in work. They're poor working people, and you shouldn't punish children for being born into a poor family.
And what proof have you got, Bill, that this extra money will be spent on their children?
Well, there's a whole raft of research demonstrating that if you're not in poverty, and you said, Lee, what's the definition of poverty?
I didn't ask that, Bill. What proof have you got that when you give these parents, these families, this extra money, it will be spent on their children?
Yeah,
what proof have you got?
Research shows that if you're not in poverty, your kids get better life chances.
Sorry. You guys will have to stop it there. Got a little bit heated there in the middle. But coming up next, we've got Tony Lodge. He's the Director of Communications from News Century Media. This is going to be a real good one, so do not go away.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
It's time for real people from the real world, or real world, real people. Got Tony Lodge here. You're the political communications director of New Century Media.
That's right.
What does that mean, Tony?
We advise companies and organisations on their political reach, their public relations, how to affect law change, how to get the concessions they want to grow their business, and effectively secure support from members of parliament, parliamentary select committees. All of that. It's a big beast of an issue, and lots of people don't know how to navigate politics, and we help them.
So I know a topic that is close to your heart, which is net zero, which is energy, which is fuels, domestic energy supplies. Yes. I think one of the first times we crossed paths was over the Cumbrian coal mine, probably about 4 years ago now. And this is a coal mine I campaigned to reopen. Sadly, the last Conservative government dragged their heels over it. Boris sort of nodded his head but did nothing. Rishi was for it. Nothing's happened, and now it's completely been kiboshed.
That was a really interesting test issue. It was the first major coal mine plan for Britain since, and you know so much about this, Lee, but I will just tell the viewers. The first major coal mine planned in Britain since the Vale of Beaver pits in the early to mid-80s.
I've been down there.
The interesting thing about that particular issue was this was an export-led project. Yep. The world wanted high-grade metallurgical coal, as well as potentially using some of it in Britain. Yeah. So it was going to be an export-led project. There was a lot of dragging of feet. There was a lot of political malaise at county council level in Cumbria. People didn't really know what to do. The county council panicked. I won't go into all of that, but they did get planning permission. Yep. But of course, when the Labour government was elected, it was very clear in the Labour manifesto they would abolish the Coal Authority, which gives out coal licences, and it wouldn't go ahead. So it was a really important test case, and the world was watching. So if you are looking to invest in indigenous resources, energy resources in Britain, and they're not renewable, and you have a good business case, and it might be export-led, that doesn't really matter. You will struggle.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a shocking decision, Tony. But let's look at some more hypocrisy in this country, because that is hypocrisy, because the world still needs that metallurgical coal to make cement and make steel and stuff like that. Better off to be mined in this country. But a few hundred miles across the UK towards Drax Power Station in North Yorkshire, we've got a situation there where we have a power station that did burn coal from a nearby coal mine. Now it burns wooden pellets from forests in North America, which are chopped down. They're put onto diesel guzzling cargo ships, chopped up with their power tools or machinery on the ships, probably powered by diesel as well. Dropped onto trains in the UK, diesel trains, and then sent over to Drax Power Station, where we basically just set fire to them. That's all in the name of renewables. Nonsense.
Well, what you've got there is you've got a large power station, 4 gigawatts, built to burn Yorkshire coal, built in the middle of a Yorkshire coal field and next to Selby, which was the biggest pit in the world at one time. And they took the renewable bung, the subsidy, which was, I think, signed off by the David Cameron coalition government with Edward Davey as the Energy Secretary, a very generous subsidy which has just been renewed. And they claim they are a renewable asset. Now, that is a very dubious claim. This stuff is coming in from North America. Is it sustainable? A word which is overused in so many respects. Then we have a situation which is it lands at ports like Liverpool and ports on the East Coast, and then, like you say, it's diesel trained across. It is something where they have landed themselves in a number of court hearings, but the problem we have is, if you were to turn Drax off, even though it's burning wood chip, we would have blackouts. So we've got ourselves into a situation where we are going to have to sweat all of this stuff, pay through the nose, put bills up to keep the lights on. This was all predictable. I hate saying this, but I wrote this in 2015 for the Centre for Policy Studies, The Great Green Hangover, How to Cut Bills and Avoid an Energy Crisis. I reread it the other day. Everything in it has happened.
Okay, so there's a question I've asked, I think 3 times now in the House, twice to Ed Miliband and once to the Prime Minister in PMQs, is if our country became net zero tomorrow, by how much would it reduce the Earth's temperature by? And not one of the Labour politicians, the front benches, will ever give me an answer.
Because it wouldn't. So what we are doing at the moment is, because of this policy, and the Conservative Party have officially abandoned net zero, they enshrined it in law, and they want to get rid of the carbon tax, which they brought in 2014. So all we know all that. But the fundamental point is, all we are doing is showing the rest of the world how not to do it. Now, I was talking to someone very interestingly from another very advanced country the other day from their embassy, and he said, we're watching Britain very closely because we are going to try and do some of this stuff, but we're watching Britain because we need to know the mistakes to avoid.
Exactly right.
Quite fascinating. Now, we are offshoring our energy-intensive industries, refining, chemicals, heavy manufacturing, cars. We have a situation in Scotland where the Grangemouth refinery has closed, and we are going to bring in refined product on a ship from Belgium instead.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Now, this stuff you can't quite fathom or make up, but it is all true.
And then, of course, we are importing frack gas from America as well, when we have our own.
Well, I think the other important thing is, and if I may say from your own background as a miner who I think was mining thermal coal for the power stations, we're now importing electricity in very large amounts from the continent. So we're closing power stations here. We are buying it in from the continent. We are told it's clean. They don't know what supplies for the electricity. That's in a written parliamentary answer. It could be coming in from German coal-fired power stations or whatever. They assume it's hydro and nuclear. So we've closed the Aire Valley power stations, the Trent Valley power stations and elsewhere. We are sweating our gas-fired power stations. They're all having to pay a British carbon tax. They don't. If you import electricity into Britain, you don't have to pay a transmission charge. The exporters are laughing at us. But we are going to be much more dependent.
I'll tell you who else is laughing at us, Tony, that's the Chinese, because, I mean, they're leading the world in renewables, still using coal, probably making things like solar panels and windmills from electricity produced by coal-fired power stations, and then flogging them to us. It's nonsense.
So we've got to this extraordinary situation now, which you couldn't make up, but it is happening, and you see it in your electricity bill and all the rest of it. The government's trying to cushion that with just basically giving taxpayers subsidies to try and keep prices down, but you're paying through the nose anyway. When does it come to a head? Well, the slight problem, I think, which frustrates me, is that we've had a kind of political love-in on this now for about 15 years, and yet they all know it's wrong. Miliband will keep telling you it's working. I want to know when we get to that situation when he can genuinely claim there's light at the end of the tunnel, and I don't think he can.
We can't, and sorry, but the light has run out of this tunnel, Tony. Our 8 or 9 minutes is up. Pleasure. Need to get you back on the show at some time to have a proper debate with somebody. Thanks for coming, Tony.
Thank you, Lee.
A spokesman for Drax said, our sourcing policy means Drax does not source biomass from designated areas of old growth and only sources woody biomass from well-managed, sustainable forests. Coming up next, we've got right versus left.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. This weekend is looking unsettled with heavy downpours. The only good news is, though, it's staying relatively mild. That's because we've got southwesterly winds, but that is where the rain is coming from. So some very wet weather pushing into western areas through the rest of this evening, and that will move into the north and east overnight tonight, bringing some snow to the high ground of the Grampians. Elsewhere, though, a lot of rain. There will likely be quite a lot of water on the roads through your travel this evening and into tomorrow morning. Once the main rain band clears, that gives way to some heavy and blustery showers, and with strong winds overnight, temperatures will be holding up above freezing just about everywhere. But it does mean we are going to continue to see some further rainfall throughout Saturday. Some quite strong winds actually moving in across eastern areas of Scotland, and with the rain continuing to feed in, we could see some disruption here across eastern areas of Aberdeenshire. Further west, we've got some heavy showers across northern England. Northern Ireland seeing a slightly drier day, but western areas of Wales, the south of Wales in particular, parts of Devon and Cornwall will see some quite gusty winds throughout Saturday. And these showers do bring a risk of hail and thunderstorms on Saturday. There will be some dry weather around, though, actually. Once the main rain clears actually in the north, much of Scotland will see relatively dry weather, and there will be some sunshine here and there across central areas. And as I said, it is on the milder side of things, 10 or 11 degrees. Some areas seeing 12 degrees actually through Saturday afternoon. So not too bad, but definitely a pretty unsettled weekend. A cold start, though, on Sunday morning, and then the next band of rain bringing another spell of heavy downpours throughout Sunday afternoon across the country, particularly actually this time across northern areas moves in. Now that will clear for some respite on Monday, but the next batch of wet and, for some of us, very windy weather arrives on Tuesday.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's time for Right versus Left with Chloe Dobbs and Bill Rammell. Bill, I'm sorry, mate, but there's been some complaints in the break. I think next time you come on, we're going to have to bring the polygraph machine, the lie detector test, because some of the answers earlier were quite shocking, mate. And you said it all with a straight face.
I was telling the truth and saying what I believe.
That's the difference, is saying what you actually believe. That's the scary part. But guys, look, listen, this week...
people want people in politics saying what they believe.
OK. This week again... David Lammy, I think's Calamity Lammy is his nickname now, but he's not here to defend himself. He thinks it's a good idea, Chloe, to abandon trials by jury for most cases. Admittedly, the most serious cases will go to a jury trial, but isn't it a fundamental right in this country to be able to ask for a proper trial by a jury of your peers?
Yes, I think it is. I think on balance I'm against this change that he wants to go ahead with. But I do recognise that this is a nuanced debate, because on the flip side, although trial by jury is a great thing that we have in this country, and it means that you don't put yourself at risk of having, say, one activist judge ruling inappropriately. There also is a huge issue with backlogs in the courts, and a lot of people are waiting a really, really long time. And when you've got a serious case for both the victims and the defendants, that puts their lives in purgatory for a very long time. But I think that this is a sticking plaster on an issue that is the backlog in the courts. And what this would do is put us potentially on a path of getting rid of juries altogether when they see, oh, this is quite convenient, this is saving us time, and this is saving us money. Who would you
trust, though, Chloe? So you got nabbed for shoplifting down here today. Who would you trust, a judge or a jury?
I think a jury.
There you go.
And I think one point that David Lammy has made when he was speaking to Parliament making the case for this change is that it is really important for people to have trust in the judiciary. And I think that this change would reduce trust in the judiciary, because all you need is 1 or 2 cases of someone who would have had a jury otherwise until David Lammy's changes, where it looks like there may have been a miscarriage of justice, and there will be a really significant loss of faith in the judiciary. I think people, with all of the bonkers asylum cases, ECHR rules, and clear cases of activist judges, people are really starting to lose faith already.
Let's bring Bill in. He's looking very thoughtful, and there was a scary part earlier on, Chloe, because he was actually nodding in agreement with Chloe at the beginning there.
And the reason I was nodding, I was welcoming the nuanced response that Chloe was giving, because this is a really difficult issue. And look, be in no doubt, the government is dealing with the prisons crisis, the court crisis that it inherited. 295 courts and tribunals closed under the last Conservative government. I think you voted for some of those, Lee. 17% cut in court funding, and we've got a court system in crisis. Some cases are taking 4 or 5 years to get to court. You imagine you're a victim. You don't know if the person who committed the crime against you is going to be found guilty or not guilty for 5 years. And then you've got to go back to court as a witness and revisit the trauma 4 or 5 years after the event. It is horrendous. I think this is the right proportionate measure. The most serious cases will still go to jury trial, and this isn't out of step with the rest of the world. Do you know, in the United States, only 2% of cases go to a jury trial. In the UK, it's going to be 1.5% after these changes.
So, of course, it's not the first time Lammy has been in hot water over the past few weeks. Chloe, you saw again this week, 12 more prisoners have escaped. Well, I say escaped. They're not digging out. They're not digging tunnels these days, Bill, or finding an old file in the cake and filing their bars away. They're actually walking out the reception and giving a few quid, and they're on the. This illegal migrant that escaped the other week, they're getting a train fare, and the next man is in a public library. Chloe, what's Lammy playing at?
Calamity Lammy, as you call him, it's absolute chaos, and he has only just come into the job. And the reality is that these accidental prison releases have been going on for quite a long time. None of us really realised until the famous Hadish Kabatu case, because all eyes have been on that with the protests in Epping, and then we realised, gosh, this is happening all the time. How on earth can you end up accidentally letting someone out of prison? Not some very carefully thought out James Bond-esque prison escape, but actually just opening the door for them and letting them go. Yeah. And so we had David Lammy say, well, actually, since I gave the last figure, about 11 more people have been let out, and there are currently 2 at large. But you ask him, OK, well, what do they look like? What prison have they escaped from? What have they done? And he won't tell us.
It's not exactly the Great Escape, Bill, is it, where they're shuffling out into the yard and dropping bits of rock and soil out the trouser bottom. They're just walking out the front gate.
Well, and it is unacceptable. I mean, look, this has been going on for years. You look figures going back 6, 7 years.
We're not talking about years, but we're talking about today.
Yeah, I know. And
Wandsworth seems to be particularly incompetent.
I think that's true. It's unacceptable. The numbers, as I understand it, on a month-to-month basis are down by half compared to last year, but they need to be down to 0. I still remember as a constituency MP visiting my local NIC, and the point I'm coming to is a contributor to this is the management and staffing of the prisons.
I agree with that, Bill. I agree with that, but I asked a question in the chamber a few weeks back, and Lammy wouldn't answer me. He sent one of his junior ministers up to answer me, and my question was quite a basic one, because I've been told, and we've got proof of it now actually, that there are prison guards, prison officers, staff in our prisons now that can barely speak a word of English, and they're having to use flashcards like "go back to your cell." Isn't that one of the reasons that people are escaping?
Well, I don't know if that's true. If it is true. If it is true, it's unacceptable. Clearly, any prison guard needs to have an adequate standard of English to be able to interact with prisoners. But I was referring to my experience of my local NIC. I visited the prison. I had a complaint, went in to see the prison governor, and he said, "What do you expect from me?" He said, "The Prison Officers Association runs this prison, and I think there's a lack of management and discipline and cohesion within the system that needs to be tackled."
Chloe.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree that there are huge management issues, and what has often happened is that in order to save money, they've decided to get rid of some of the more senior prison guards who actually know what they're doing, and they've just got, a bunch of teenagers basically running the show who don't know what they are doing, and more easily influenced by prisoners who want to help them get drugs.
It's not just
and
this
whatnot.
situation, guys. Everything that's happening now in government, they've been chirping on for the past 14 years about the state of the country, and now all of a sudden they're in power, and it seems to be getting worse, Chloe.
Yeah, it seems to be getting worse. It's not an easy task to solve for sure, because the Tories did kind of allow the prisons to just sort of crumble, not really upkeep them, and become overrun. Just going back to our talk about jury trials, now people were actually we speed up the court system. More people are going to be ready to go to prison. We're not even going to have the space then, which just shows how broken the system is. But what I would like to see with regards to prioritising prison spaces is foreign offenders being sent away back home, rather than releasing a bunch of people early from prison. And we've had some really shocking news come out of that, of, for example, someone being murdered the day after someone was released early.
Guys, we're going to go on, Bill, now to the yes or no quiz. I know you're... have you won this quiz before?
I've won it every time I've been on.
Every time?
I've won it every
no
time.
pressure.
Well, it's drawn if it's been
unbeaten
5-5.
Chloe, unbeaten Bill. We'll start with you first then, Bill. Has David Lammy lost control of our prisons?
No.
Lost my pen. It's here. So, clear answer. Chloe.
Yes.
Was the Labour budget, Chloe, a success?
No.
Bill.
Yes.
I'm going to get that lie detector test in next time Bill's on. Bill, is Starmer right to cancel next year's mayoral elections?
I think it's a very difficult case to justify.
Chloe, you've got him. You've got him.
No.
This is, if you win today, this is going to end his unbeaten streak. Unbeaten.
No pressure.
Streak. No pressure. So it's a yes or no, Chloe. I've got my fingers crossed. Is Keir Starmer the most unpopular Prime Minister of all time?
Yes.
Bill?
No.
And Bill, final question. Should we introduce digital ID?
Yes.
Chloe?
No.
Oh dear, Bill.
Yes.
A narrow head.
Victory.
He's shaking. He's quite clearly upset. He's quite clearly upset. They've been beaten for the first time. But great victory, Chloe. Well done. You deserved that. And the one that he really struggled on was, is Starmer right to cancel next year's mayoral elections? Bill, come on.
I was being honest. I think it's a difficult case to justify. In where I live, that will mean for 3 years in a row there's not been a local election, and that's not a good thing for democracy.
No, well, fair play to you, Bill. Fair play to you on that one, Chloe.
I think that democracy is important, and we've had issues with where we've been hearing about council elections being cancelled or potentially cancelled, and then you hear from the council, and rather than it being, oh, it's just going to be too expensive to run elections really often, they say, oh, it's because we can't possibly allow Reform to have the reins of power whilst the council is changing structure. And that, to me, is clearly a class of people saying, you idiots, the public, you don't know best. We need to decide for you. And there are, when we're at a point where we already have huge mistrust in democracy, we've had years and years of people voting for things that don't happen. There's a really mistrust of politicians at the moment.
Course,
to have that now, I think, doesn't help.
Reasonable point,
the situation.
Chloe, but the public aren't idiots, are they, Bill? And all this will do is actually wind them up even more. So when they do get to the ballot box, whenever that is, they will give the main two parties a good kicking.
Yeah, I think there's a risk of that. That's where we are politically at the moment, and I think people will be frustrated at not having a vote at the local level. But Reform are now going to be judged on their own track record, because you now control local councils across the country. You came in on a big commitment to cut waste. It hasn't happened, and you'd cut the council tax.
Been in charge.
Virtually every Reform council is going to put the council tax up by 5%.
How do you know that?
Because there's been briefings and leaks from those Reform-led councils.
Briefings and leaks from who?
So, for example, the chair of social services in Kent Council, who says they're going to go for a 5%
It's very difficult to assess how much council tax will be next year, but you know this until they get the government settlement, which is, I think, next week or the week after. Anyway, that's enough of that. Chloe, well done. Commiserations, Bill. The first time you've been beaten. I'm very happy to see it, by the way. I like to see our left in the corner getting beaten, even though I am impartial on this show. But coming up next, we've got Last Orders with Esther Stanhope.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Further wet and windy weather likely in Greece and Turkey during the course of the weekend. Some heavy downpours, particularly across southern parts of Turkey, extending into Cyprus. Also, as I mentioned, gusty winds. The breeze coming down from the north, bringing a cool feel to Italy, but should see plenty of sunshine here. Same goes for Mallorca and much of the east coast of Spain. If you want temperatures over 20 degrees, you need to be heading further south. Some fine warm conditions in the Canaries. Those heavy showers only slowly easing this weekend in Greece.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Well, that sounds like last orders at the bar. And for the second time on the show, I've got Esther Stanhope. You came on a few months ago.
Yes.
Was it last year?
Yeah, last year.
Last year. You bought a book.
Yeah.
What was that book called?
It was called Goodbye Glossophobia. Banish Your Fear of Public Speaking. It was all about speaking, confidence. And you were showing off about how good you are at speaking.
I wasn't showing off at all. I was just explaining how you go from, just a normal 9-to-5 job, and then all of a sudden you become, whether it's a politician or whatever, you end up doing quite a bit of public speaking.
Yes.
At the beginning, it's quite daunting. It can be quite scary. That's a good thing, I think, in a way. It sort of psychs you up and gets you ready for going out there. But there's lots of little tips you can learn on the way. There's lots of, I don't know. I look at other people, how they speak as well. and try and take little bits from them, but do it in your own sort of style, Esther.
Absolutely. I mean, the public speaking isn't only about a script, and it's not only about nerves. It's actually about 100 different things, because you've got to feel good about yourself, and you've got to have the inner confidence, the self-belief, and all those things. What I found personally is I was terrible at public speaking. I mean, I was a producer at the BBC for many years, working with talent, working with politicians. I was really good at giving other people confidence. When it came to myself in the spotlight, I was awful. I used to just go, I used to forget everything. And I thought it was because I didn't prepare enough. What I realise now, it was because I didn't do it enough. So if you want to be good at anything, good at public speaking, or you want confidence in anything, you've got to have exposure therapy. You've got to expose yourself, if you don't mind me saying, Lee.
Expose yourself?
You've got to get out there, you've got to do it, you've got to face it, and you've got to do it, and you've got to fail, and you've got to pick yourself up, fail again, and then get told off.
So that was the last book you bought onto the show. You've got another book here called Visibly Brilliant.
Yes.
What's all this about?
Visibly Brilliant. So this book is for. I work with a lot of people in the corporate world. I work with politicians. I work with people in sport. And what I find is a lot of people are technically brilliant at their job. So a lawyer or maybe a data analyst, technically 100% perfect. But when it comes to visibly brilliant at their job in their sector,
so why
terrible.
Have they got
they can't
to be,
sell themselves.
But why have they got to be visibly brilliant?
Why have they got to be visibly brilliant?
Yeah.
They've got to be visibly brilliant, because if you're not visible, how are you going to get promoted? How are you going to get new clients? How are you going to get opportunities? How are people going to talk about you and go, wow, that's so good?
So can you be visibly brilliant,
yes,
but be rubbish at your job?
Oh, what do you think, Lee?
Well, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? A bit rude. The new producer's laughing over there. That's not funny. Hassan's laughing as well. He's got his earring in again. That's not acceptable.
The thing is, Lee, right, is that a lot of people, and I'm not gonna point fingers or blame anyone here, but
you're looking at me now.
But there's a lot of people. I'm not looking at you.
You just pointed your finger.
There's a lot of people that are really good at being visible and really good at saying, I'm so humbled by my award. And then there are so many people behind the scenes that aren't being seen, aren't being heard, because they think, I haven't got the confidence to be like that.
What's this here? What's this instrument here we've got on the bar?
Okay, I know that you're going to have a go with this. Okay, I took up the ukulele a couple of months ago because I had a theme tune in my head for the book, and it's based on the Alison Moyet 80s hit, which you didn't recognise.
Come on then, let's go for it.
I thought, look, you know,
this is a first on national British TV. Esther's going to play the ukulele. Go for it.
Are you ready? Okay,
I'm ready? Yeah.
Invisible. I feel like I'm invisible. Wrong chord. You treat me like I'm not even there, like you don't even care. And that promotion, it ain't going nowhere. Invisible. I feel like I'm invisible.
Have we got a cloth anyway?
Oh, dear. Oh no, he poured a pint on his phone.
I just poured a pint on my phone. I was that impressed. It's still gone all over my phone. Oh dear, can we get a towel, please?
Oh, we need a towel. Oh no.
It's all right. Anyway,
it's all right. Here, you have a go. You did the chords earlier.
So
you're
is
jealous,
it that
aren't
one?
you? Yeah, C. I feel like I'm in A minor, visible.
Anyway, we'll have enough of that rubbish.
I'm not even. You're going to take up the ukulele now.
But tell me more about this book.
Yes.
What sort of people are buying this book, Visibly Brilliant?
So, a lot of my clients are buying the book as well as me running a session for them and running a leadership course. Because what I do is I give people the confidence, I give them the tools. For example, just doing one small thing a day just to move yourself forward, whether it's sending an email or sprucing up your LinkedIn profile. Not that LinkedIn is the only way to be visible. But I give people the confidence to talk about themselves, tell their story.
Well, let's talk about your confidence then.
Yeah.
On the old beer pump here. We've got the alpaca lips.
Okay.
You used to work in a bar, didn't you?
Actually,
you've got 30 seconds to pull the perfect pint.
Oh my, 30 seconds, that's not, okay. Okay, I used to, oh my goodness, I used to work in a bar. Hang on a minute, there's a lot of froth, there's a lot of froth here, hang on.
Less with the jaws, more with the paws.
Hang on a minute, hang on, there's a lot of froth. I'm not sure whether that barrel... That's not very good.
I'll put that on. No, we don't have none of that nonsense. You'll get marked on that. That's a 1 out of 10. That's pathetic.
That's terrible. Hang on, can I have another go?
No. So tell me about when you worked in this pub. What did you do in there?
Yeah, it was 35 years ago. It was a sports pub in Richmond in West London, right?
Okay.
And it was quite sort of laddie, and we used to sell jugs of Stella.
Jugs of Stella?
Yeah, my name's Esther, so people would go, yeah, all right. They either called me Stell or Jugs. It's a good one, jugs. Can I have a couple of jugs still? Jugs still. Yeah.
Okay, sounds a bit sexist.
I know it is a bit, yes, and I don't think that would be allowed in this day and age.
Does anybody still see you
not.
knocking around and shout jugs?
No
it's just
more.
Esther,
No. I've gone past my pub days.
Okay,
my
so
days.
you've been on here twice now. You've made a mess of that point, Esther.
I would like to carry on with it.
No, you can't carry on. It's a 1 out of 10. You get no. So what are you currently working on?
Currently, I'm working on Visibly Brilliant, the audio book.
Yeah.
I've just been in the studio, in fact,
really?
and recording. That's quite difficult. Have you ever done an audio book?
No.
You really got to get a lot of energy in your voice, and that's something that you've got a good voice. I think I talked about this last time. You've got a good voice, but it could be a little bit more.
So give me some
tips. More
then.
energy. Okay, so if you are working on an audiobook, first of all, standing up with a really good posture is really, really good for your voice. If you put your hands like that, it's not so good for your voice.
Like this.
Yeah.
Not
so good. What you want is you actually want to open up your chest a bit. Hold your hands like here. On TV, have you been told this, that if in doubt, grab your third finger?
No, this is what Prince Charles does.
Yeah, but don't do what he does.
He makes them silly grunting noises.
No, do it your way.
Oh, my way?
Okay, so if in doubt, grab your third finger.
Yeah,
have you not been told that?
No, never.
Really? You don't sound like this, do
I've been shown the middle finger a few times.
Yeah, I'm sure you have, yeah.
But I've never grabbed the third finger.
Okay, so if in doubt, grab your third finger. Take a big, deep breath, all the way down.
Yeah. So tomorrow night,
yes.
which will be Saturday night.
Yes.
I'm in Braintree in Essex, and I will be speaking at a big event.
All right. How are you starting
I'm the main speaker. I don't know, because I never make my mind up. See, I've got basically the gist of what I normally speak for about 25-30 minutes.
That's quite long.
And I sort of know what I'm going to say.
Yes.
But then I drift off into different areas. So I'll get up, and you have to try and judge the crowd, the audience, if you like. You've got to make a political speech, but you've got to try and make it. I mean, because political speeches are quite boring.
Yes.
So you've got to make it humorous as well and funny, and grab them in the first 2 or 3, well, the first 10 seconds, really.
You have, yeah.
And then, because I've seen other speakers before, and they tend to lose the room after about 10 minutes. People start chatting.
People can't do that.
No, you can't. And once they start chatting, then you've lost them. You might as well just rag in straight away.
But I mean, look, you've done thousands of speeches, right? But I can give you a couple of tips if you want. Okay, so the first thing is the audience, because as a former broadcaster working in many years for television, radio, BBC, many TV channels and stuff, the one thing that you have to always make your priority is that your audience, they don't really care that much about you. They care about themselves. So you've got to give the audience something to think, something to do. Always make sure that you're serving them before you serve yourself. So when people go in thinking, what should I say, my story, this, what are they going to think of me? The answer is nothing much. So give them what they need. Like, what do they want? So, for example, your audience in Braintree, what do you think they're really thinking at that moment, at that time?
Yes, you've got to... are you sort of saying to me, tell them what they want to hear?
No. What do they need? What do they need? Not what do they want. What do they need? So what are they thinking at that moment, at that time? What do they need? They need...
No, what do they want?
Well, what do they want?
Telling people what they need is it's a little bit arrogant, isn't it? That
No, you're not telling them what they need.
No.
You're learning yourself.
Okay.
What they need is they want something with oomph. They want gossip.
Esther, you have been visibly brilliant on my show tonight. I'm sorry, beer's gone on my phone, it's gone on my book, it's gone on my glasses, it's gone everywhere. But that's been a real pleasure. Thanks, darling.
Thank you, Lee.
That's Last Orders with Esther Stanhope. Thanks for joining me on Lee Anderson's Real World. It's been another great show with some great guests. More of the same next week, but coming up next, we've got Friday Night with Matt Goodwin.
Thanks, Lee. Well, tonight, President Trump has said many European nations face civilizational erasure. They may lose their civilizations because of immigration. We're going to be debating that. See you in 1 minute.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather.